See the ribbons. It is a swirling breeze here in Houston. It's going to be short. Oh, it's good. Wow, it just snuck over.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another What's Up XFL Nation, and welcome to another edition of the OG XFL Weekend Review. I am your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, your alt football media guru. Welcome to episode 194. On today's show, we've got highlights, we've got press conferences, we've got stats, top performers, power rankings, and so much more, plus your phone calls and social media and so much more. We have a jam-packed show, huge upset from the XFL, with the Guardians beating the DC Defenders, my team, America's team. So without further ado, let's just not waste any time. Let's get into the weekend that was the XFL.
But, I mean, you haven't stopped anybody all game. I guess the second half, kinda. I don't know, man. This offensive league.
You're asking the worst offense in the league to get a 4th and 15.
That is the alternative to the onside kick. A chance. 2-point try once more. In the flats, Canella not home. 24-15. Still a one-possession game with a potential 3-point try. Instead, back to the air. Gordon gets it on the screen. Josh Gordon's going to pick up a first down into Arlington territory, a 12-yard gain. It'll be Hammonds probing the A-gap, twisting and turning. That is a first down. Will Clark the tackle. The all-important first down for Seattle in search of win number 5. That's all you have to do at this point on 3rd down and 2.
Am I missing something?
And that will do it. Sea Dragon fans in the house tonight here in Arlington.
It's impressive for what's going on around the stadium. You mentioned the concert, baseball, basketball. These fans came out, supported this team for a big win.
5 wins in a row for Jim Haslett and the Seattle Sea Dragons. 5-2 on the season and surging at the right time.
Yeah, really good. I know. Yeah, good job. The Seattle Sea Dragons beat the Arlington Renegades 24-15. Let's break down the stats for you. Ben DiNucci, 21 of 32, 266 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He also led the team in rushing with 9 carries for 52 yards. But Darius Bradwell got a touchdown on the ground. We heard about Phillip Lindsay coming in. Sounds like Morgan Ellison might be hurt, though. There might be some issues with his gameplay that they're not happy with. We're not sure about that when it comes to the running game. Jordan Vesey led the way with 79 yards on 3 catches for 3 targets. Blake Jackson, 4 catches for 68 yards on 5 targets. Ja'Cour Pearson, 5 catches for 31 yards. Not really a big day with this, and 7 targets. And Josh Gordon did a little bit better. 3 catches, 43 yards, 1 touchdown on 4 targets for the Seattle Sea Dragons. For the Renegades, Drew Plitt, 19 of 29, 213 yards, 7.3% passing. Okay, but 1 pick. Running game, not much there. Devon Smith, 12 carries for 61 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, though, which was big. Sal Cannella led the way as usual. 4 catches for 64 yards on 7 targets. And Victor Bolden finally getting involved in the offense, second in targets with 5. He had 3 catches for 40 yards. But again, the Arlington offense continues to struggle. We'll see if they can pick it up at the end of the season.
Coach, the Arlington offense tonight might have looked a little bit different than you would have seen in their film previously. Can you talk about, what they might have thrown at you guys you weren't expecting and how you went about particularly keeping them out of the end zone?
Well, they did some good things in the run game. They did a couple things that hurt us last week. And obviously we didn't fix it until later on in the game. And then they cut a couple balls on us that, I didn't think they could get. I didn't think we had much of a rush today. We got to make sure we fix that. Besides that, they played hard. I thought Arlington played their butts off on offense. I was impressed with the quarterback. I really was. I didn't know much about him, just some of the plays he played before, but I was impressed with him. And they do a good job. I know all those coaches. I worked with a couple of them, the Hayes brothers and Timmy Lewis and all those guys. They're good. It's a good football. It's a good staff they have. Really good.
Coach, what was your evaluation of Ben DiNucci and how he played today for you?
I thought Ben played really well. He made the one bad choice. He threw the interception, but he took a shot on it. We were throwing some deep balls today, and I thought he handled it well. He ran well. People don't know how fast he is. When I get these trackers, we put it on the players to see how fast they run during the game, and he's the fastest one. He's faster than the receivers. He runs about 23 miles an hour. So he can do that. He can make all the throws, and he made the one bad decision. He wanted to throw. We're trying to get a touchdown. The only thing that bothered me, he took points off the board. We at least had a field goal minimum, but he tried to put it away.
The penalty will be 15 yards from the dead ball spot. Vegas keeps the ball, 1st and 10.
Michael Carrizosa coming up with it on the sideline. Did he get the strip too?
He didn't get the strip, but he got the recovery. The great thing about Matt Carrizosa, their punter, he was a caseworker working at homeless shelters in California, working 9 to 5 for the last few years while training. This dude.
Oh no! Drew Beasley empties the entire box of knives on Jalen McClendon.
He cares about winning on an inside rush on Eatman. You saw that.
Herman, the former Broyles Award winner in '97 with Michigan, and Charles Woodson. Trouble for McClendon and brought down. Another one for Beasley.
You heard that zero train, all-out blitz.
And there is Smith. Will he do it again? Carter to beat. Carter takes a lick, but is able to stand tall. Smith wins this battle. It's a 34-yarder. Take us through it, Fitz.
Yeah, he told me before kick he's good inside 55, so this is money. The execution. Is that one right? Oh, we are alive, ladies and gentlemen. We are not tearing this ticket up just yet, kids.
Akers, 82 in yellow. Baker's not looking for him. Didn't see Tomopenu.
6 sacks in the last 3 games. Pita Taumo Penu. This is what he did in his high school state championship.
Vegas looking for their 2nd win of the season.
The San Antonio Brahmas lose to the Vegas Vipers 12-26. So the Brahmas are now 2-5, and the Vegas Vipers are now 2-5 as well. Some interesting news from this game. Kurt Benkert, 22 of 31, 179 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also did get hurt. Sounds like he might have broken ribs. Because Patrick, again, nothing on the ground. He had 12 carries for 20 yards as a team. They only had 30 yards rushing in the air. Landon Akers could be a guy. 6 catches, 75 yards on 7 targets. Because Patrick had 4 receptions on 7 targets. Elise Mack had 3 catches. Really, Fred Brown was the only touchdown. He had 6 targets with 2 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown for the Vegas Vipers. It is Jalen McClendon time. 21 of 31. 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. On the ground, they rushed for 90 yards. Rod Smith led the way with 39 rushing yards. Jalen McClendon had 25. In the air, this is his favorite target, Matthew Sexton, 4 catches, 72 yards on 4 targets. Jerome Allison had 3 catches. Sean Price had 3 catches. Rod Smith had 3 catches. Everything was evenly distributed. Sean Price and Rod Smith with the touchdown. And Martavius Bryant, 1 target. That was it. But again, they have played, basically spread the ball around. Is Jalen McClendon the guy in Vegas? We'll have to wait for game 2.
Brock with Team MBS Media. Last week you had uncertainty regarding your quarterback situation. What happened this week that made you go at Jalen McClendon, and what did you like about his performance?
Well, Jalen is so talented. Have given him the opportunity. I had to give him the opportunity. We're out of the playoff race, and so to see a guy like that who, he's been lighting our defense up for the last 4 weeks in practice, and I was like, man, I got to give him a shot. And glad I did. The kid deserves everything he comes his way. He's a great individual. He's a great human being, and a really good quarterback. He can throw the football and he can run. Hopefully he just keeps it up, keeps chugging down that path of understanding and believing in himself. And if he does that, he has a really bright future.
How you mentioned just seeing Jalen in practice. How was he this week when you told him that you were going to go with him, and how is he kind of handled this, season of being, behind.
He's been no different. He's come in the morning at about 6:30 with the other quarterbacks, with Louise and Brett, when they came in early to game plan. He did the same thing. He's a pro's pro. And that's why I said a guy like that, you want all the good things to happen for him. He's been busting his butt through college, all the way through, wanting to have an opportunity. And, I just knew I owed it to him to give him that shot. And I think everybody saw how talented he is. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He can throw the football down the field. He can run over people. So those type of guys you try to look for. The NFL's looking for guys like that. So, hopefully, like I said, he keeps progressing in the right manner, and he keeps believing in who he sees.
Jose Volonte, Gorilla Cross Media. Rod, you talk about Jalen, you talk about his play.
Yeah, you could get your dance on. DC retakes the lead.
0-1.
The backfield action, you get that whole player to come up. It vacates the window behind it for the Zeke Lance, the slant route. Wide dragster, they're going to try and hit Latimer again.
Here comes the blitz, crossing route. They got Latimer. It's a big hitter. Latimer still on his feet. Touchdown!
That's third. Wait a minute, 6.
Orlando Guardians strike for 44-yard pickup. Latimer would not be denied. It is the deep man for DC. Brown does get it away. A good punt. Hammond fields. Let's see what he can do to start this return. Oh, he is just drilled. And a penalty flag comes flying.
He's a runner.
Yep.
So no foul.
No foul. Okay.
There is no foul on the play. The contact was ruled legal. First down.
20 seconds to play. What can DC do down by 1? Tamu throwing, completing to Chris Blair. Now the clock will stop as they reset the change just like it does in college. Tamu's calling for the spike as soon as they set it. Here goes the clock, and Tamu spikes it with 13 seconds.
Which means everybody's going to have to hustle.
4 wide receivers set for DC on 2nd and 10. Tamu, he's got to get this first down, and he does. The clock will stop. Marked down at the 45. Spikes it at the 4.
Flag that. He hit my head, right?
4 seconds to play. Matt McCrane will attempt a 63-yard field goal. It's on its way! No good! And Orlando gets their first win of the season!
It's all about, baby. Yes! Yes!
Upset City. DC Defenders, America's team, lose to the Orlando Guardians 36-37. The undefeated streak is over, and the winless streak is also over. Best game of the season so far? Let us know in the comments. Jordan Tamu, 21 of 29, 285 yards on 3 touchdowns. De'Aaron King also had a touchdown. Abram Smith on the ground, 18 yards, 127 yards, and a touchdown. You would think, hey, that's good enough. Chris Blair led the way, 5 catches, 139 yards on a touchdown, 7 targets. Lucky Jackson had 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Breely Moore McKinney had 1 touchdown on 6 targets. You'd think, hey, that was the win right there. Easy. We won the game on that. No. Quentin Dormady, 27 of 34, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not all, my friends. Jermaine Martin had 11 carries for 52 yards. Dormady had 8 carries for 22 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns throwing, 3 touchdowns running. Cody Latimer led the way, 7 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets. Charleston Ramble, Daniel Williams both had 4 targets apiece, getting some good numbers there. Katie Cannon, former DC Defender, he also got on the board with a touchdown. Jordan Thomas had a touchdown. Cody Latimer had a touchdown. And the big upset and potential game of the year, Orlando Guardians. Quentin Dormady, the guy, I think he is in Orlando.
Finally. This is the feeling that I've been trying to experience for 6 weeks. And how that locker room is acting right now, That's what you want. That's what it's about.
Masu came up with Sue.
A lot of hard work, a lot of adversity, changes, you name it, we've done it. And we played, for the first time, I felt like fearless tonight. It hurt us on some occasions. I mean, we was blitzing, we was doing everything. You saw the throwbacks. I mean, we actually played the way that I envisioned us playing, and it came down to the end, and we was on the other end of that, finally. So I am ecstatic and happy and blessed and all those things.
Coach, a lot of pieces of history made tonight. The highest scoring game once again in XFL history where you're involved. DC experiencing their first franchise loss, but I think the biggest thing, of course, for you, the Guardians' first win. How does it feel, man?
It is awesome. It is awesome. You know, obviously I've dreamed about it. First of all, I didn't dream about being 0-6, and to finally get it, this is how it's supposed to feel, and get that to the team that we can get used to this. You know, we still have a 24-hour rule. We're going to enjoy this, and then we're going to get back to work.
Coach, you had a lot of success in the run game tonight with Martin and Darrington. Tell us what you saw in the DC defense and talk about their success tonight.
Well, they try to rush forward. They play deep. They try to protect on the deep balls. We feel like we could take advantage of some, certain things, and it did. And, you know, we was able to do that. Control the clock. Dink and dunk when we had to, and at the end, you know, just grinding out. Eating that clock up to get in position, get that win.
Coach, definitely happy for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And one thing that was different this time around is you had your friend Derek Brooks here. Talk about Derek Brooks coming out here and supporting the Guardians.
It's awesome. Guys that are generational players, once-in-a-lifetime players that come out and show the support and help when they can. It is a true blessing. Last week we had O.J. McDuffie here, the great Penn State, Miami Dolphin player. So they're coming out, and like I've been telling you guys, we still have to give you a reason to come. And I felt like we was getting better, and it finally showed tonight. And I feel like we could play even better than we played tonight. We had a couple costly turnovers there, some calls that. It's unbelievable, some of this stuff, but we fought through adversity. And
play action, little sidearm sling. Still a one-score game, but there's a flag down in the end zone. St. Louis might have another crack at it.
Got it. What another one?
Devontae Beckett.
Yep. Pass interference. Defense. Number 11. Ball being placed at the 1-yard line. Try.
Still a one-point try here for St. Louis. You can't change your selection after a penalty. So that decision made before the flag. Here's Hill, and he dances in. St. Louis with a 9-point lead. Another flag afterwards.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 52. Defense. That 15-yard penalty be assessed on the ensuing kickoff.
Ripper with the quick throw, but I like Bucks here.
Here's Max Borghi. Wow. Max Borghi's able to pick up the first down. They bring pressure with 4. Somehow they got to him, and they forced McDonald to scramble. Nobody open downfield. And he slings it incomplete. And a turnover on downs for the second time for the Roughnecks in this game. Anthony Beck, all smiles. Bottom of your screen, here he is. And there's a lot of room for Shepard and his St. Louis first down.
About the division race in the north, but the one in the south might be every bit as intriguing. And it might be ultimately in the South Division Championship in the playoffs. It might be the lesser of many evils because none of those teams in the South right now are playing consistent quality football.
Clock runs out on Houston. Anthony Beck, first year as a head coach. Abdul Wade Phillips
St. Louis Battlehawks beat the Houston Roughnecks. We are who we thought they were now. With the Houston Roughnecks are now 4-3. St. Louis Battlehawks are 5-2. 24-15 is your final. They're not really surprised. A.J. McCarron leading the way as an MVP candidate, 26 of 34, 222 yards on 3 touchdowns. Brian Hill, 11 carries for 53 yards on the ground. Darius Shepard, 7 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Hakeem Butler had a touchdown, 27 yards on 6 targets. And then Gary Jennings had 26 yards and a touchdown on 2 targets as well. Marcel Aitman, who came back, 2 catches for 18 yards on 5 targets. But for the Roughnecks, we thought, hey, it's Cole McDonald time. He's leading the way. He's going to start the game. 18 of 32, only 106 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Max Borghi, 46 rushing yards. Cole McDonald had 40 yards. I mean, they did have 136 rushing yards, but no touchdowns. In the air, Cedric Byrd was his main target, 7 catches for 50 yards on 9 targets. Dante Burnett, 3 catches for 21. He had 9 targets as well, but had a touchdown. But again, Cole McDonald, we were excited. You would think he was going to be the guy. He came in. Brandon Silvers was injured and didn't do much. Now the question is what will happen with next week. Is it going to be Cole McDonald or will Silvers return, and will the Roughnecks continue to lose?
First just shout out to Coach Phillips, going against a longtime legend. That I got a lot of respect for him and his team and what they've done so far this year. So, we knew it was going to be a challenging game and an opportunity for us. Our team played great today. Last week we played 3 great phases: special teams, offense, and defense. I challenged them this week to do the same. And often in football, you don't get to duplicate or guarantee you could duplicate what you did the week before. And you have to go take it. You have to go work for it. You have to go, out in the game and take it from the team. And these guys did it. We had a good start by our offense early. Obviously, we don't want to fumble early, but we were able to put some points up on the board. Donnie made a great kick before half. It gave us some momentum. And then we had a lull a little bit on offense in the second half, and that's when the defense stepped up and just played a great game. That's what we have to have, complementary football. Nobody points fingers on our team. We just, whatever the situation, whatever the challenge is, whatever the celebration is, we're all in this together. These guys have bought into the culture, and they believe in it. We believe in, whether there's a minute left or whatever it is in the game, that we're always going to come out on top. So we have to start winning games back to back to back. We had lost one the last 4 games. And in order for us to get where we needed to be, we had to win this game. So let's keep thinking, we can stack these up and keep going with it. But it was a great team win. Guys were prepared, and to go on the road and win a football game versus a very good Houston team, give them a lot of credit.
All right, we'll open up for questions. Ready for questions?
Coach, the decision to kick the field goal right at the end of the half.
Yep.
How much confidence? Obviously, you made it, but did you feel like you were rolling the dice, and you felt pretty confident in the kick?
Well, every second is precious, right? They gave us 6 seconds in that right before the half, and I want to utilize every second. Being a head coach, the one thing I've watched calling games, being in games, is the magnification of the time that's wasted or not wasted in a football game. And if we have a chance to score or do anything, I want to do that. So when we got the ball back, we called a play to get us close. We'd like to have gotten past the 40, but it was a little bit short. I asked Torrey, our special teams coach, I said, can we make it? He says, yeah, I think we can make it. I turned around and looked at Donnie. I was like, Donnie, you got this? He said, yeah, I got this, coach. I looked him in the eyes. I was like, all right, I believe you. So he went out there, and everybody was in my headsets when he kicked it, said, it's short, and went over the goalpost. So just shout out to him, man. Listen, it hasn't been the best year early on for him. He struggled. And that's always tough for a kicker, right? You're not making when you want. You're not being consistent, but he's been really good the last couple weeks. And hopefully, you make that now. I expect him to make them all. You're not going – well, how many yards was it actually? 59 yards. Yeah, XFL record. So, at this point now, he's got no room for error. But that was just it was a great kick, and I do trust him. I always tell my players – Travis, I trust every one of these guys to do their job. And when your number's called, you got to do your job. And that's what Donnie did, and proud of him. It was a huge kick. It was big for us going into the half.
Broke the record
Seattle Sea Dragons signed former NFL running back Phillip Lindsay. This is some big news. So on Saturday, the Dragons announced the addition of the former NFL running back. Signing comes after Morgan Ellison was benched for struggling with fumbles and pass protection. Veteran, this is from Tom Pelissero. Veteran running back Phillip Lindsay is signed with the XFL Seattle Sea Dragon per source. Two-time 1,000-yard rusher. Lindsay should have ample opportunities in June Jones' offense to showcase himself for an NFL return, and is still only 29 years old, so some pro experience. Played at Colorado, second all Pac-12 2016. Played for the Broncos, Houston Texans, Miami Dolphins, Indianapolis Colts. Accolades: he was a Pro Bowler in 2018, Pro Football PFWA All-Rookie Team in 2018, AFC Offensive Player of the Week in 2018 as well, so clearly had a good year then. After a redshirt season freshman in 2013, Lindsay played 4 seasons for the University of Colorado Boulder, appeared in 41 games. Overall, set 24 records and tied 2 others in his Colorado career. Second team All Pac-12. Then was drafted following the 2018 draft. Signed as undrafted free agent with the Broncos. Made the team's final roster after an impressive season. He'd be named the third-string running back behind Royce Freeman and vet Devontae Booker. But by the end of the season, Lindsay was splitting carries with Royce Freeman and eventually totaled 1,278 yards. Total and 10 touchdowns, earning him a spot, but then, of course, bouncing around from different NFL teams. So we will see. The problem is that time is running out. There's only a few weeks left. Is he going to get 20 carries in his first game in the XFL? Probably not, but it's interesting to see these guys making their way to XFL rosters, even with only a couple weeks left in the season. Arlington Renegades make some moves. So a week after making multiple changes to their quarterback room, Renegades made another big move at the position while losing some injured players. So the league announced Monday that Kelly Bryant has signed with the team, quarterback Kelly Bryant. Shortly afterwards, the Renegades announced on their Twitter account that Drew Plitt and linebacker Edmund Robinson have been placed on the injured list, so potentially out for the season. We'll have to find out what exactly their injuries are. But Bryant is well known for his college career. Spent 4 seasons at Clemson, where he started 1 full season with the team in 2017. During that season, he led to an ACC title and lost to Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. 2018, Bryant would lose his job to a guy named Trevor Lawrence, which led to his decision to transfer to Missouri. Bryant threw 2,215 yards and 15 touchdowns and 6 interceptions with the Mizzou Tigers. He would go undrafted in the 2020 NFL Draft, getting a tryout in Arizona Cardinals in camp. Bryant would then sign with the Argos of the CFL in 2021, spend less than a year there, and he was released. Signed with the Bismarck Bucks of the Indoor Football League, throwing 48 yards and a touchdown while rushing for 87 in 1 season. Fan Control Football came calling afterward. He played with them last year, winning the league's MVP for their title game. So now that Plitt's out, again, and we've released Kyle Sloter, then getting Luis Perez. We'll see if he gets any playing time, or is this maybe a move for Season 2 in the XFL? We'll have to find out. We have Anthony Miller's defensive, offensive, defensive, special team players of the week. Let's get right into it. Player of the week, Quinton Dormandy. They got the big win, 27 of 34, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 carries for 22 yards, and 3 touchdowns as well. We know the game. You saw the game. Huge game from him. Honorable mention, Jalen McClendon. First game, 21 of 31, 264, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries. Looked good. Jordan Ta'amu, 21 of 29, 285 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 carries for 23 yards. Abram Smith, 127 yards rushing and a touchdown. Chris Blair for the DC Defenders, 139 and a touchdown. And, of course, A.J. McCarron, 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. But clearly, Quinton Dormandy is a guy with the big win. On the defensive side of the ball, Delonte Scott, defensive lineman for the Brahmas, 7 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss and forced fumble. Not too much of a surprise here. Been playing well, even with Jalen McClendon out there. Other honorable mentions, Jordan Williams, San Antonio Brahmas with 11 tackles, 3 for a loss. Pita Taupupuinu, linebacker for the Vipers, 4 tackles. He's got 1.5 sacks. Maurice Smith, the DB for the Vegas Vipers. Faldo Brown, a defensive lineman for the DC Defenders with 7 tackles. And John Daka, linebacker of the Houston Roughnecks with 3 tackles and 1.5 sacks. On the honorable mention side for special teams, you got to go with Fred Brown, wide receiver kick returner for the Brahmas, 4 returns, 123 yards, and 1 touchdown, and 96 long big play there. Some honorable mentions, Donnie Hagman had that 59-yard field goal, which I believe is an XFL record. Brad Wing, punter for the Brahmas, 4 punts, 214 yards. Dominic Eberle, kicker, Seattle Sea Dragons with 3 field goals with a 48 long. And then Daniel Whelan, the punter for the DC Defenders, 3 punts for 144 total yards. They were the top players for Week 7 in the XFL. All right, we got this Week 8 XFL Power Rankings by our main man, Mike Mitchell. And in this week, a lot has changed. The DC Defenders finally lost. Orlando Guardians finally won. St. Louis Battlehawks look like they are a team to beat this season. So let's just get right into it. First, at number 1, DC Defenders at 6-1. Big, shocking upset. Defenders were humbled, losing their first game of the season in an unkind fashion to previously winless Orlando. Big shocker here, 37-36. Loss at the final gun. A 63-yard field goal. Very exciting game. One of the most exciting games in the XFL this season. We'll see how DC can bounce back. Are they going to go on a losing streak? But right now, my friends, the league is wide open as far as championships go. Who knows who is going to win? At number 2, we just saw the big field goal. St. Louis Battlehawks, 5-2. They held an impressive 24-15 victory over Houston against the Roughnecks. Anthony Beck's bunch is playing great complementary football. Defense, special teams is all playing well. They're 5-2. DC Defenders are 6-1. This is anybody's ball game in the North. Number 3, the Seattle Sea Dragons, clearly the best division in the XFL, is the North. So Seattle is the league's hottest team, winning 5 straight after besting the Renegades 24-15 in Arlington last Friday. I am not impressed with Arlington's offense. It's still Arlington. I think Orlando could actually beat Arlington this week, which is a game I will be at. But Seattle is now 5-2. Definitely one of the hottest teams. And those 3, this is wide open now, my friends. The North could be taken by any one of these teams. Next up, at number 4, is the Houston Roughnecks. They have just been, I don't know what the heck happened to them. They're down to the 4th spot in ranking after their first loss, with the caveat that they remain here until they beat one of the top 3 teams in the North. 2 more North losses against DC and St. Louis on Sunday validated this drop. That's why Mike Mitchell also dropped them down. Also, did you hear Phillip Lindsay got signed by Seattle, a former Pro Bowler in the NFL? Wanted to point that out too. Tom Pelissero was talking about that. That could have a huge impact on Seattle's offense as we keep going through the season. But Houston drops down. They're now at 4-3. They haven't beat anybody. And also, the South is wide open. Who can take the spot there? Because the Roughnecks were the team to beat, but they are not who we thought they were, I guess. Number 5, Arlington Renegades. They slide down. They're 3-4. They have a decent defense, a good defense, Bob Stoops' group, but the Renegades' offense showed minimal improvement in Week 7 and is not good enough to win games, so they are just struggling right now. Number 6, Vegas Vipers at 2-5. Rod Woodson's team hasn't been much to be excited about, but Jalen McClendon looked great, played well in their win, so they are somebody that we have to keep an eye on, though they are mathematically eliminated, I believe, from playoff contention was something that was put out there, but I'm not really sure about that. But so we'll keep an eye on McClendon as time goes on for the season. San Antonio Brahmas at 2-5. It could be argued that no team in the XFL has been more disappointing loss than the San Antonio in Week 7. Hines Ward's Brahmas failed to seize the moment and the opening in the South by being thoroughly outplayed by the 1-win Vegas Vipers, but they are just having a trouble with their quarterback situation, bringing in Kurt Benkert. He's still basically off the street. We'll see how that goes. And number 8, of course, is the Orlando Guardians at 1-6. They finally won their 1 game. Could they win a second game this week? We're just going to have to find out. Get ready for the biggest XFL season yet with RunTheSims.com, your ultimate toolkit for XFL DFS and prop betting. With DraftKings offering XFL contests with huge prize pools, you want to have the best tools and player projections at your fingertips. And Run the Sims delivers with their lineup optimizer, showdown simulator, and expert pick'em tools for prize picks and underdog. So here's the deal. Use code NEWSHUB for 10% off a monthly or weekly spring football subscription and get access to accurate projections to help you make informed decisions and make that money. That's runthesims.com. Use the promo code NEWSHUB for 10% off. So if you followed spring football and in the past, you know the information edge can be massive. So if you want to win big, subscribe to runthesims.com and use the promo code NEWSHUB today to save 10% off. What's up, everybody? Game for the big game that everybody's talking about. Monday Night Football. DC Defenders taking on the Houston Roughnecks at home, Audi Field, Beer Snake. I just wanted to put Alf in this video. We're super excited. Also that the XFL has announced that it will be back for season 2, even though everybody's like, yeah, we assumed it was. But huge news today and excitement to kind of close out Week 6. Something that us XFL OG fans have never experienced before. So let's head to Audi Field. All right, we're here. Beautiful day out for DC Defenders game. We're going to head to Walters first to always kind of check out the scene before we get going. But I'm hearing 15,000 fans potentially. We're all dressed, ready to rock and roll. So let's do it. Y'all caught me off guard. What's up, my friends? We are back. That was just a video that I forgot to play last week from the DC Defenders game. So let's say what's up in the chat room. Greg's checking in. Said the XFL is legit. XFL is lit. Zaid says good luck. Thank you very much. Don says what a week, and what a week it was. Crazy. I mean, you're talking about the DC Defenders losing. You're talking about a great game, a shootout. I mean, St. Louis Battlehawks, the Seattle Sea Dragons. What's going on there? We thought Cole McDonald would come in and just be awesome. He didn't really play that great. Drew Plitt is now hurt. I mean, just a lot of stuff going on in the XFL. Gregory says Kakaw is definitely the law. This is true. Richard, my man Richard, said, I really enjoyed the games this weekend. I did too. Got a chance. Couldn't watch some of them. A lot of family stuff going on. Speaking of all that stuff, we do want to point out that we are headed to Orlando this weekend for the Renegades versus Orlando Guardians game. I was really hoping that Orlando Guardians would lose to the DC Defenders, America's team, my team, but they didn't. And no skin off my back. Some people take their teams a little too seriously, and they look like tools, talking trash like somehow you won something. You didn't win anything. Your life is still the same thing the next day. I don't get people like that. But yep. So my team lost, but I'm excited, for Orlando, and I'm excited to be at the game, at the Orlando Guardians game. So next week is questionable because we'll be in Orlando that whole week. So just stay tuned for that. I wanted to point out that. What else did I want to say here in my notes? Oh, yeah, and then we're in for the San Antonio XFL Championship weekend. We'll be in there for that. We have phone calls, too. We want to get to some phone calls and wrap this show up. But first, I wanted to give a shout-out to our league, our listener league, our fantasy football listener league. Let's see here. There we go. XFL League. So right now, Blob Stars is leading the way with 468 points. It's Mr. Pass at 434. Saskatchewan Wheat Demons 429. Then me, and fourth place at 313. I've got Drew Plitt as my running quarterback. I'm gonna have to find a new quarterback. We'll see who's out there. But it's been a lot of fun playing fantasy football. And News Hub Fantasy will also have fantasy football for USFL. It's already in there, ready to rock and roll. We already have a listener league set up for that. So that's very cool there. All right, let's get to our first phone call, shall we?
Hey, Mark. This is James again. I'm trying to make this call quick here because I know you probably got a lot of callers here. I just thought I wanted to talk a little bit about the USFL and the XFL's philosophy. I find it interesting because I've noticed something. I don't know if you've noticed it too, but I think the USFL is trying to go for a more traditional product, and the XFL is trying to go for a more modern kind of like social media, not worthy products, but like easily digestible, And let me tell you what I mean. The USFL, I've noticed almost all the teams, from what I've noticed, have cheer squads. They have mascots. They have different little things that you'd see at like a more traditional football game that the XFL just for some reason doesn't have. Maybe they did like some marketing study and found out that people really didn't care much about the cheerleaders or whatever, or maybe they found the cheerleaders kind of degrading because a bunch of women on the sidelines. I don't know how you feel about that personally. Personally, that really doesn't bother me much. It doesn't bother me that we don't have that in the XFL, that's for sure. But it also doesn't bother me that the USFL is trying to go for that. I just thought it was interesting, the different philosophies of the two leagues. And I wanted you to kind of expand on what you thought of that. But anyways, man, bye for now. Thanks for the podcast, and God bless you and your staff as always.
All right. Thank you, sir. God bless to you as well. Talking about the USFL, I guess they are going through more traditional pros. I mean, really right now it's a battle of two business plans. They both have the same amount of team, both play the same amount of games. The XFL has a little upper hand, some believe, in the schedule as far as being a funnel for players to get to the NFL, at least to make practice squads and stuff. I don't see anybody from the XFL making a $100 million contract, and coaches and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's interesting that they having cheerleaders and mascots. Now, the XFL is basically, as I was told, was kind of just this season was plant the seed. That's the term I heard. Planting the seed, just letting it grow, not really coming out like 2020 did, like guns a-blazing. But remember, now all this staff is going to be around for a year. After that, are they going to bring on cheerleaders? I mean, that's just add another expense to it. Are they going to add mascots? I mean, those are fun things that you could bring, that you can kind of drum up during the off season. We're not going to get an expansion. No new teams will get added this year because they're going to want to kind of, all right, this is how everything year one went. Let's get into year two. And can we grow this thing? Will it get bigger? What if things start to tail off? They're not going to want to do those kind of things. But maybe do they bring in cheerleaders? There was this whole thing about XFL in 2001 about cheerleaders. So they said they were definitely not going to do cheerleaders, but mascots. But I don't know. Maybe they could do that in the next couple seasons going forward. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of their two different philosophies. And it's really going to be interesting when they go head to head. Check out Mike Mitchell's article about the USFL and XFL going head to head. There's going to be games, weekends coming up starting April 15th that they will go head to head. They're going to be on Fox. We're going to, XFL is going to be on ESPN and FX. And, it's going to be real interesting to watch. Jared says, Camping World Stadium doesn't have any bars near it. I would say meet near an outside area. An area outside the stadium at a certain time before the game. If anybody has any ideas, leave us in the comments. Where should we meet up for the Orlando Guardians game this weekend? I don't know anything around the stadium, so I wouldn't even know what parking lot. I don't know where I'm going to park. I don't know where we're going to be before the game. I know nothing about nothing. So if there's an idea of where we want to meet up, maybe at halftime is what I was thinking. And I'll just post on social media. You'll see it on Facebook and Twitter of where I'll be. If you want to say hello to me and my lovely wife, that would be awesome. I'd appreciate that. Don says, what a week. Call my friend. What a week for the XFL. A lot of good football for the North. Even the sole North loser, the DC Defenders, had a very good game stat-wise. What is up with the DC Defenders defense? I just want to point out. Greg Williams dialing up. What happened? I mean, you gave up a lot of points. It was simply Orlando's time, and they would not be denied. I was hoping Orlando would lose that game so that I feel like Orlando is going to win 2 in a row. I have a feeling Orlando is going to beat Arlington, and I will have picks on Thursday when it comes to all that stuff. He said the biggest issue that was the fact that ESPN decided that the senior circuit of old tennis players playing pickleball was more important than the XFL. We'll see what the ratings look like for that. And he said, I had the opportunity to see Agassi Roddick defeat McEnroe Chang. It wasn't until the 6:28 mark in the first quarter that they switched to the Houston and St. Louis game. Yes, that was annoying. I also was looking and also traffic bumped up once that game went on ESPN. I was on ESPN Plus and it just said, waiting for your event. And I was like, what's going on? And then I would go back to ESPN and yeah, it was a real mess there. There's no doubt about that. I mean, pickleball, I'd be curious what the ratings were for pickleball versus the XFL game. That would be interesting. Mike Mitchell, if you're listening, point that one out. That would be kind of fun. But in honesty, I'd rather watch the games on ESPN Plus. I'm just kind of this is kind of the way I'm at now. I mean, I don't have a Nielsen box thing in my house, so I'm going to probably watch all the games on ESPN Plus at this point. All right, next phone call.
Hey, Mark, this is Jared. I just wanted to comment on the Orlando Guardians beating the DC Defenders this past weekend. The most surprising upset in XFL history, in my opinion. I'm sure everyone else would agree. To play against DC when they were at their best, Abram Smith had over 100-plus yards. Jordan Ta'amu was on his game. And they went toe-to-toe with them, and they both played, had a shootout basically, and to overcome and win that game was a classic. So, and what's kind of sad about it is that they would have beat the Renegades, which they lost by 1, and also the Vipers losing by 3, they would have been sitting probably in playoff contention with 3 wins, or at least in the conversation more. And it's funny because I guess the Vipers are mathematically eliminated before the Guardians are. So that's kind of funny that the Guardians still have less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs, but still that's pretty hilarious. I seen the betting odds like a few weeks ago for the Guardians to win the championship, and it was like plus 30,000 or something. So that was a good laugh. So also just wanted to know, are you going to meet in a specific place for the Orlando Guardians game that you're attending in Orlando, like at a certain time or anything, like a lot, or meet at a certain spot in the stadium so everybody can meet with you? All right, see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, so biggest upset in XFL history, no doubt, especially how close it was. Could you imagine? Remember, Matt McCrane missed the field goal. That was one part. Could you imagine if he nailed that other field goal at the end of the game? A big 60-yard bomber would have been awesome, but it was definitely a classic. We've had a couple of classics XFL games this year. As far as where I'll be, I'm thinking somewhere at halftime. I don't know anything about, like I said, I don't know anything about the stadium or what's around there or where to meet or if there's a tailgate going on. Whatever it is, if you've got something going on, leave a message in the chat, specifically at podcast at XFL News Hub, and let me know in there if there's a place where we can all meet up. And because I would definitely like to meet some of y'all. We came all that way to when we were there to go to Disney, and then we were leaving early so that we can go check out the Orlando Guardians place. At least I could, missed it in St. Louis, but we could do the Orlando thing, and I'm super excited to get out there and meet everyone there. All right, my friends. Let's see. Don says 3 games left in the Battle Dome. Yeah. If DC does not win this weekend and St. Louis does, I think St. Louis gets the home playoff game. I wanted the DC Defenders to have the home playoff game. I'm not going to be in town because my daughter has her college graduation, and I can't miss that. But I could have sold the tickets and made some little bit of money. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, guys? Anyway, Ty says USFL will win the TV battle, but XFL will win the attendance and overall fan experience. That is an interesting point. I think you might be onto something there. Greg says, hey, both leagues are in building mode. However, one of these leagues needs to put a team in Oakland and San Diego for sure. $6 billion NFL expansion is definitely off the table. Yeah. So we will have to I'm going to have an article in the next week or so, potentially sooner, about some potential XFL expansion areas. So you're going to want to check that out too. All right, my friends. That's it for this week's show. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, email podcast at XFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3, leave it on your phone, or call us 888-430-7692 extension 3. As always, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And we'll be back live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday and Thursday, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Super excited for Week 8 in the XFL season. Can you believe that? Week 8 in the XFL season. And this is the final week for some teams in the fantasy football. So you have to think about that too. So make sure you smash that like button. Appreciate that. Like and subscribe. Enjoy tonight's basketball game. We will see you on Thursday. That's it from me, folks. God bless. Mahalo, as always. And I will see. Oh, and also one last thing. If you've got anything you want to see, did you like the beginning of the show with the highlights and the coaches thing and my take on each game, or like, what do you want to see more? Let me know in the comments, or email me podcast at XFL News Hub. Really want to start getting some feedback, and definitely at the end of the season, we're going to be putting out surveys to really try to get a feedback of what is it you guys want from us, your boys at XFL News Hub. All right, God bless. As always, mahalo, and I will see you all later.